Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley, and with me, as always, is Zach Moore of Pigtown Sports. Zach, good morning. How are you today, man?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Been waiting for the Orioles to make another big signing. They've already made quite a few. We're going to get into all of that today here in just a moment. Today's show brought to you by Help My Gambling Problem. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Look, the Orioles, the winter meetings start tomorrow for everybody. The Orioles have been one of the busiest teams this offseason, basically since the World Series ended. They've hired Craig Albertnez as their new manager. They've hired almost a completely new coaching staff. They traded Grayson Rodriguez for Taylor Ward about 3 weeks ago. They've added, they have a reunion with Andrew Kittredge. They traded him for, I think, a Dominican shortstop who's about 17 years old, and then traded cash considerations to get him back and immediately exercised his option. They've brought in Ryan Helsley as their new closer, and now they're looking to still add to the starting rotation, maybe another bat, and probably another piece for the back end of the bullpen. Reportedly, they're amongst the favorites for both Framber Valdez and Rangers Suarez, rumored to be interested in Michael King and Zach Gallen as well for their rotation. And they're also reportedly in on both Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso. Zach, what do you make of these rumors? How seriously do you take them? What are your feelings as we enter the winter meetings tomorrow?
I think I read this morning that they're still in on Kyle Tucker as well, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a domino effect. Like when one guy goes, they pivot to the next, or if they can't sign one, they should be in that working in that operation. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be exciting. I tweeted it. Hold on to your butts because the next 2-3 days are going to be pretty exciting around the baseball community.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. I know that we're excited over here. A lot of Orioles fans still have PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
They
rightfully so.
Yeah, and it makes total sense. Last year, you can pull up tweets from last year where it looks like the Orioles were linked to just about everybody. Orioles are in on this guy, they're in on that guy. They're interested in Blake Snell, they're interested in Max Fried, they're interested in you name them, they're interested.
Yeah.
And they came away with Tomoyuki Sagano. They came away with Charlie Morton, and those didn't even happen at the winter meetings. Then you had Gary Sanchez and Tyler O'Neill the night before the winter meetings, but the winter meetings themselves pretty quiet for the Orioles last year. So I'm already antsy if they get through Thursday and there's no signing. I don't know. I might lose it. I might go jump off the roof or something. I don't know.
I think we all should probably.
But yeah, it's going to be hopefully a big next 5 days for the Orioles, and hopefully they come away with some legitimate pieces. If they don't, it's still, that doesn't mean that they won't. It just means it didn't happen at the winter meetings. So, but it's going to be hard.
Failure.
I do too, but I'm trying to talk myself off the ledge early. You know what I mean? Because the most active winter meetings I ever remember was in 2010. Yeah. When they came away with J.J. Hardy and Mark Reynolds. I don't remember any other winter meetings being very active for them. So, now they did add a couple of pieces yesterday. They brought in outfielder Will Robertson. He was placed on waivers. Was it by the Guardians that he was placed on? Or was it? No, I can't remember who it was.
He played with the White Sox. I don't remember who had him that DFA'd him.
Yeah, so he was DFA'd. The Orioles brought him in. Had a little bit of pop in the minor leagues. Just a decent minor league hitter. Not great in his 25-game sample in the majors last year. And then they also they claimed and brought in Drew Romo, a switch-hitting catcher from the Rockies organization, who was surprisingly DFA'd. He was a 35th overall pick in the 2020 draft, and a lot of people seem to think that this guy, he's still young. He's what, 23, 24 years old?
24, yeah.
24. Are you reading any tea leaves about this guy, Drew Romo, and what it could mean for the Orioles? Do you think that means that the Orioles could be looking at bringing in another catcher, and that Adley could be on the trade block?
I wouldn't say he's on the trade block. I think it was. I mean, you look at a guy who was Colorado's 9th ranked prospect. He was a first round pick. It's not like he's had a bad career by any means. And I think they saw talent and they were like, you can't have too many catchers. Let's just go ahead and claim this guy. Like you lose nothing by bringing him in, especially a talented switch hitting catcher. And he's got pop. He's great defensively. He's got a pretty decent arm. You lose nothing. Now, could he turn into like a third catcher or and play pretty well and then maybe you trade Adley? I doubt the whole trade Adley thing happens, but listen, you're adding talent to the ball club and it never hurts, and it just gives you it opens doors down the future. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and look, they've got Basayo, they've got Rutschman, they brought in Ike Irish, and who was the other guy that they was it Bodine? K. Bodine, yeah. So they've got some, legitimate catching in their organization, top to bottom. So it's and then they're just adding this guy Drew Romo, who seems to be like a pretty solid player, who's still young in his career and has an opportunity to make something of himself, and he's going to get that opportunity in the Orioles minor league system in 2026. So not something to not be excited about, not something to get too worked up over. But yeah, let's talk about each of these players in the winter at the winter meetings that the Orioles could be linked to. Framber Valdez is obviously the big name on the pitching side. Last year he won 13 games, had an ERA about 3.65, but his August and September especially were really bad. Had a over a 5 ERA the second half of the season, over 6 in September. Does that worry you at all?
Not necessarily. I mean, guys have bad second halves all the time. I mean, is he getting older and could it concern you maybe a little bit? But I mean, for the most part, I mean, he's had an 8-year career and it's always been kind of up and down. It's been consistent, but he's had his moments where it's been pretty bad. Did he know he was on his way out? I mean, were things bad in the locker room? A lot of things we don't know. So, I mean, look at Texas. There was issues there. They fell off. Anything could have happened, but does it really concern me? I'd say maybe like 20%. I think the value there is still higher than any kind of concern right now.
So in the last 4 years, he's made at least 28 starts every year, 31 starts in 3 of those 4 years. ERAs 2.82, 3.45, 2.91, 3.66. He's got at least one complete game in all 4 of those seasons, and he actually has 2 or more in 3 of those 4. Innings pitched 201 in the third, 198, 176 in the third, 192. He would have led the Orioles by a wide margin last year with that 192 innings pitched. Look, this is a guy who is at the top of the list amongst free agent pitchers. You also have Ranger Suarez, who has been really good for the Phillies. I don't feel like he posts up nearly as much. I think his career high in the innings is in the 150s. Ranger Suarez, another left-handed pitcher that the Orioles could be going after, the pair there with Trevor Rogers in the rotation. Your thoughts on Ranger Suarez?
A lot of people are kind of worried about him because he throws below 92. He usually sits between 90 and 91. And a lot of people think like long term that's going to be an issue, and it could. He's kind of funky. Like I looked him up this morning, and I think he gave up like I think it was like a 263 or 265 average on pitches above 92. And then it was like a 203 average on pitches below 91. So, I mean, he's a locator. Obviously, you see his postseason stats. He's pretty good. Velocity is a lot in today's game, but, I mean, location still is too. And the name of the game is to get 27 outs. And if you can find a way to get 27 outs without throwing 90 miles an hour, do I really care? Probably not. Now, do I really want to see you throwing 90 to Aaron Judge? Probably not. But, I mean, you got to give and take a little bit.
Yeah, I just saw a quote from Greg Maddux where he said, if you're a soft tosser, you can't get up close to the triple digits. It just means that you have to be able to locate and be more effective in the strike zone. It just means that your mistakes become bigger when you don't throw for high velocity.
Yep.
So the fact that he, throws 92, 93, that doesn't really scare me too much because I think he's a crafty lefty. What scares me is he's never made 30 starts in the season. He's never thrown more than 157 in the third innings. I feel like something happens every year where he just isn't available for a stretch.
Yeah.
And you want a guy that's going to post up. If the Orioles bring in a Framber Valdez and they bring in a Ranger Suarez, okay, then I love that. If Ranger Suarez is the guy, not sure how much I love that. Because
would
you want somebody who's going to
Ranger like over Zach Gallen as the guy.
That's what I was getting to next. Is Zach Gallen was not great last year. And by not great, I mean it took a solid stretch where I think he had 8 quality starts in his final 11 starts last season to get his ERA down to 4.83.
Right.
So, and his numbers have gotten progressively worse over each of the last 4 seasons. He's been really good until last year. Can the Orioles fix him? I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know what happened there. Was it a situation where they had all these guys for that rotation? They were feeling really great about things, and slowly but surely everybody got hurt, and then the writing was kind of on the wall, and he just didn't live up to his standards. And if that's the case, do you want that kind of guy on your team where as soon as things get bad, he gets bad? I don't believe that to be the case. I think it's probably something different, but I won't sit here and pretend that I watch film and have studied him enough to be like, yeah, it's a mechanical thing, or he's standing on the wrong side of the mountain. Like that, I have no idea. I want somebody who has a track record who didn't post close to a 5 ERA last year. You can't really sell me on that as much as you can sell me on a Valdez or a Suarez or a Michael King or trade for a Joe Ryan type of player.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, if they brought in Ranger and like swung Joe Ryan or something like that, I would feel pretty comfortable at that point. Mm-hmm. Now, if they did like Ranger and Evan Cabrera, maybe not. I'd probably put Cabrera around the same way as Ranger Suarez, where he has talent, he can get outs, but you ideally want somebody ahead of them. Do I think Ranger's better than Trevor Rogers right now? I would question that, maybe. Obviously, we'd have to wait and see. But going off last year, I would say no. Framber is. Yes. So it just comes down to, I don't know, like who can you acquire first? I excuse me. I think Framber's target number 1, to be completely honest with you.
I think he is too.
I'm not sure after that point, like, do they value somebody else in the trade market, or do they think Ranger's number 2? That's what I don't know.
Now, what about Michael King? When Michael King is healthy, he's one of the top pitchers in baseball. Just back in 2024, he made 30 starts, pitched to a 2.95 ERA, won 13 games. But before that was his first year as a full-time starter, and then this year, and he had been injured prior to that. This year, his first 10 starts, he was phenomenal at 2.5 ERA. Got hurt, only made 15 starts on the season. ERA on the year 3.44. Fielding independent pitching was a 4.42. WHIP 1.2. The upside is phenomenal. The K rate for his career, 10.2 Ks per 9. That's fantastic. But do you trust him to stay on the field? Is it too risky of a move for you?
I think at this point you got to be a risk. You got to take risks. I think they've skirted around the risk for a couple years, and I think it's probably why we're in the situation we're in, where these other teams were like, you know what, we'll take on the risk. And has it burnt them? Sure. Corbin Burns, that was a risk, and it got burnt. Max Fried, it worked out pretty well. Garrett Crochet worked out pretty well. So I think eventually you have to kind of jump into this pool of the unknown land that you're not used to and start swimming. And if it burns you, oh well. I mean, it's baseball. It's not like it's just the Orioles. It happens around the league. But the payoff, if it doesn't burn you, is right now around the league is showing to be worth it. So I think at this point you just got to jump off the deep end and just pray.
Well, I mean, look at the Diamondbacks last year. They spent 6 years, $210 million on
Corbin,
Corbin Burns, and then he wasn't available after May. He had to have Tommy John surgery. A guy hadn't really missed any starts in his career. Post up, he's given you 32 starts and close to 200 innings every year. First injury of his career, and it took him out for the season and a good part of this coming season. So, these scared money don't make money.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And the thing that I have an issue with is you see these fans who were like, Pete Alonso would be a bad contract. Kyle Schwarber would be a bad contract because they're on the wrong side of 30, and you're going to have to give them, 4 or 5 years each, 30 to 40 million a year each. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares if it's a bad contract? Show your fan base that you're willing to do something to make your team into a contender. We haven't won this. The Orioles haven't won anything for 43 years, and we're worried about bad contracts. Like, you got to do something at some point, because you look at what Boston's doing, where they bring in a Sonny Gray, and then they make that big trade with the Pirates the other day. You look at Toronto, who just went to the World Series and was literally an actual inch away from winning the World Series.
Yep.
And they've gone out and they've added Dylan Cease. They're in on Tucker. Like, they might be the favorites for Kyle Tucker. You have to do something to prove that you belong in these conversations. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, well, Kyle Schwarber, $35 million a year when he's 36 might not be good for us. Who cares? Who cares?
I think a lot of teams need to start looking at the Ohtani contract. It was $700 million. It's a lot. But you know how much revenue the Dodgers made that second year? $700 million. You go out and give $60 million, we'll say, to Kyle and Pete Alonso, right? $60 million. You're like, man, these are bad contracts. They're 5 years. We're stuck with these guys for the next 5 years. They're both over 30. Well, cool. If we make an ALCS or if we make a World Series appearance, their contracts are paid off within 2 years. Who cares at that point? They got you to where you wanted to be. So, and I think a lot of teams around baseball, and Toronto's one of them, they're paying these guys. Max Fried just got a contract. The Yankees don't care if he's good in years 6, 7, and 8. It's what can you do for me from years 1 through 5? Because your contract's already paid off. We don't care anymore if we have to cut you and let you go. Right off into the sunset. Thank you for your service. And I think the Orioles are going to have to start playing in those waters.
They absolutely have to. There's a lot of uncertainty around the 2027 season. The people that think that we're just not going to play baseball in 2027, that's not going to happen. Like,
there's too much money to lose for them to even miss a day. They're going to find a way to not miss a day.
I mean,
these owners and even the players, nobody's missing that money. There's a lot of money involved.
Right. You look at what happened, after the 2021 season, and there's just, they still managed to not miss any baseball. Right. Spring training got started a little bit later, but they still managed to not miss any baseball, and it looked like they were never going to agree on anything. There's too much money to lose to be willing to, and the game may never bounce back. Like, you lose a season to a lockout when you've got millionaires fighting with billionaires. Like, there's too much at stake. We're going to play baseball in 2027, but there is a lot of uncertainty still. 2026 is a year where the Orioles have to show they're willing to go for it. And then after 2026, we'll worry about the years after that. Let's get to this season and be one of the best teams in baseball again. You had 30 players on the IL last year. You were very beat up, but when people say, well, we can't have that conversation if we aren't talking about injuries, but we're not talking about, as loud as we should be, the fact that every player regressed. The Orioles had 2 everyday players hit above 222 with runners in scoring position last year. It was Gunnar and Westy. And Westy missed how many games? Gunnar was not himself all year. Like, you have got to put the right pieces in place to make the rest of your team better. And that's why I really think they have to go get another bat, because Taylor Ward, as much as I love the 36 homers and 103 RBIs that added to the lineup, you've got a guy with 228 with a 317 on base percentage who struck out 175 times. He's a good addition. He's not that guy who's going to, protect guys like Gunnar and Westberg the way that you need them to be.
Yeah. He's a good compliment if you bring in Alonso or Schwarber or something like that. He's a good compliment behind Gunnar.
100%, but he can't be the guy. And honestly, at first I thought he was going to be the guy, but after seeing all the rumors I've seen and how they haven't gone away, I don't think he's the only guy anymore.
Yeah.
Are you surprised though that the Orioles haven't been linked at all to Cody Bellinger? Because he seems like the perfect fit for this team.
I can tell you one thing that I know for 1,000% is the Orioles operate in silence. So could they go out and sign Cody Bellinger and not a single person in baseball know about it? You damn right. You damn right. They don't like anything getting out. They want to operate in silence, and most teams in baseball really do want to operate this way too. Because like, think about it. If it gets out there, oh, John Heyman, oh, the Orioles are linked to Cody Bellinger, then the price just went up because the Yankees don't want to lose Cody Bellinger, right? And now you got to fight with that. So operating in silence is probably the correct way to go about it. But does it surprise me? Yes, but would it shock me if they really are talking to him? No.
Well, and that's the other thing is every year you hear about, oh, this team is a favorite to land this guy, this team is a favorite to land that guy, and then they end up signing with a team that wasn't even talked about.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember when Cliff Lee, way back in the day, it was like he's going to the Yankees, he's going to sign with the Yankees, and then the 11th hour he signs a 5-year contract with the Phillies for less than what the Yankees were offering him. You know, like these things pop up just because they're out there, and sometimes they want these things to be leaked. You know, and it could be the agent themselves leaking these things to try and up the bidding wars with the players. So I don't know. I'm confident that they're going to bring in. Is confident the right word? Because I feel like I'm setting myself up for failure. Like I'm setting myself up to be really heartbroken.
I'm confident
but I feel like
too.
they've got to bring in players. They can't have an offseason like they did last year. And this offseason, you can argue, is maybe already better than last offseason based on who they've already brought in. But they can't stop there. They've got to keep going. I don't think they have a choice. I don't think Mike Elias has a choice because I think his job's riding on what he does this offseason.
You can't take it easy. Like you already talked about. Like Toronto's going for it. And Boston has made moves already. They are going for it. Even Tampa Bay has made a move. I mean, is Cedric Mullins a game changer? No, but he does make their lineup a little bit better than it was. So the Yankees eventually are going to make a move. Is it going to be a big move? I've heard contradicting things about it. I can't remember if it was John Heyman or John Mioli or Morosi. Which one's not the Baltimore guy?
John Morosi.
Morosi the Baltimore guy?
No, Morosi's the guy for MLB Network.
Okay, so I think it was Morosi talking about it, but apparently the Yankees want to get under the $300 million threshold for the luxury tax, and they are not going to sign anyone this offseason of significant value. So there's those rumors out there. Like, do I think that really is going to happen? No, I really don't. But you can't just sit back. You absolutely can't. Like, unless you want to be one of the worst teams in the division, then go ahead and sit back. If you truly want to get this team back to the playoffs, like you've said numerous times, and I think people are going to hold you to that and be accountable for it, you're going to have to make a couple splashes.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And the Yankees aren't getting younger. You know, they just aren't getting younger. So today's show brought to you by Project Game Day. Pressbox's Project Game Day continues tomorrow following Ravens Steelers with your hosts Glenn Clark and Rita Hubbard, special guests Ken Zales and Andrew Stecca, and also former Ravens linebacker Tyus Bowser. You can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, or at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Project Game Day is brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER, Costa Sin, Game Day Men's Health, and Live Casino and Hotel. So let's. This show is more about like what people want and what they want to see and the questions they're going to ask us. So let's just get right into some of these comments here. Jabba, what prospects would you be willing to part with for Gore? Zach, I'll let you field this one.
That's a tough one because right now I think pitching is at a extreme premium, and I mean we've heard at the deadline last year that Minnesota wanted Roman Anthony for Joe Ryan. I mean,
wow.
And even look at what Boston just traded for Oviedo. Like, you just traded your number 3 prospect in baseball for a project arm. So Mackenzie Gore's going to fetch somebody like Dylan Beavers or Jordan Westberg or somebody you probably don't want to part with, Trey Gibson, Bradfield. It's going to cost a lot. Would I be willing to part with some of these guys? I'll give you guys I'd be willing to part with. I'd be willing to part with Cowser. Depending on who you brought in, I'd be willing to part with Beavers. Do I want to? Hell no. But if you brought me like Pete Alonso and somebody else, I think it lessens the blow just a little bit. But from the minor league side of it, I would probably trade Mia for him, Esteban Mia, and Bradfield. And I mean, obviously Honeycutt or somebody like that as a couple throw-ins. Kerstad as a throw-in maybe. It would take, I would say, 6 players probably.
So with Mackenzie Gore, you look at his numbers, they aren't eye-popping. He's essentially Dean Kramer or Dylan Cease the last few years. Now, Dylan Cease has got 7 years, $210 million from the Toronto Blue Jays. Why is Mackenzie Gore going to cost so much for a guy who's?
That's it.
Is that really it?
Yep, that's it. He's left-handed. He throws hard.
Because you look at his numbers, they're middling. His numbers say he's a number 4 starter in a rotation, but the haul that he's going to bring in says that he's a number 2, or number 1 even. And now, who was it that like Clay Holmes, for example, he made the transition from back end like lockdown reliever to a starter last year for the Mets, and he was really good in that rotation. You look at Nick Pivetta. Everybody was talking about Nick Pivetta like he was the second coming, but had a career ERA above 4. He goes out and pitches to a sub-3 last year. So like they know something obviously that I don't. But when I look at the numbers for this guy, I know he's good. The power lefty arm coming in your rotation, adding a second left-handed pitcher to your rotation, it intrigues me. But I don't know. Like I can't wrap my brain around being willing to part with some of the Orioles' top 10 prospects to bring and some major league ready players or some guys already on your major league roster to bring in a guy who looks like a number 4. So
that's compare something real quick, but I mean. Listen, me personally would rather spend the prospects on Ryan Weathers than I would Mackenzie Gore. But I'm going to make sure that before I say that officially that I'm not an idiot. So I'm looking this up. So Mackenzie's got a better WAR, obviously way more starts. Now Ryan Weathers has a lower ERA, obviously lower strikeouts and whatnot, lower K percentage, lower walks. But to me, what I seen from Ryan Weathers last year, he's going to cost less. He's still a lefty that throws 95, 96. He's had some injury history, but he still has control. If you're getting middling numbers out of Gore, just give me Weathers for far less. And I feel like this year would probably maybe get comparable enough where the blow of what you'll have to give up will be fine. Like I think Weathers could pitch. I'm not going to say better than Gore. I don't think he's better than Gore, but I think he's close enough is what I'm trying to say. Like close enough to where I don't have to send Dylan Beavers to acquire him. I can send Bradfield or I can send maybe Mayo or something like that. Like, and the Weathers is like I think they're number 3 or number 4. But he lost some weight last year. He got good. He did get hurt again. Just good fastball, but it's simple stuff like that. And I've seen some people say go for Peralta. Look, I would rather spend a bigger package on Peralta, even though he is a rental. I don't think you have to go as high, but the control, being a lefty, the Nationals they're gonna command the roof.
Well, Peralta, he's under control for this year and next year, right?
No, he's a free agent next year.
Oh, he's a free agent after. I thought he had 2 years of control left.
No, just 1.
So that changes things a little bit. I was under not the assumption. I thought that I had seen that he is a free agent after 2027.
Which I really don't understand. Like if the Brewers really want to cut money, why would you not just try to trade Brandon Woodruff? Like Peralta's only $8 million. Woodruff is 22. They're both a free agent next year. Like what are we doing here?
They probably felt like they owed Woodruff better than that, just because he's been there. You know what I mean?
Trade him here.
Trade him here. I don't care what you feel like you owe him.
Woodruff great.
The other thing with Weathers is his career high in innings pitched is 94 1/3. Now it's way back in his rookie year in 2021.
Yeah, San Diego.
So you're looking at a guy who potentially would also be on, because he threw 84 innings last year. There's another guy who would potentially be on an innings limit.
Yeah.
And you are, after you already said that you've been hearing rumblings that Bradish and Rogers might be on innings limits because of how little they pitched this past season. So, do you want to have three guys in your rotation that might not be able to give you more than 120, 130 innings? Now, with Gore, the upside for him is that he's made 27 or more starts each of the last 3 years, and he has been at about 160 innings each of the last 2 years. So that's a guy who could ramp up to, he would not be on a limit, he could ramp up to 180, 200 innings if he's the guy that you think he is, and he can post up like that. I just, to this point, his best ERA in his career is 390, and he's got a 4.19 ERA. I'm not one of those people who thinks the ERA doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense to me to say ERA doesn't matter, because now it can be misleading. You can go 6 innings and get over 3 runs, and that's a quality start, and you feel good if your starter gives you that. But that's a 4.50 ERA, so I get that. But the whole point of the game is to score more runs than the other team does. So don't you want a guy who averages letting up less runs? I don't know. That's why I also don't think that RBIs are as antiquated as people think they are. I understand that they don't hold as much water as they used to, but I still think they're important, because the name of the game is to score runs and hold the other team from scoring runs.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next comment is also from Jabo. Any update on Seager wanting to get traded? I don't. They already got rid of Simeon. I feel like they've already shed a lot of payroll. They non-tendered Jonah Heim and Aroldis Chapman. Not Aroldis Chapman. Wow, Adolis Garcia. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I think Seager stays put at this point, because you've got to field a team that can at least, make you somewhat competitive. How do you justify to your fan base winning a World Series in 2023, and by the end of 2025 you're selling off your entire team that got you there? I don't, unless they're shedding payroll to try and bring in some big names and we just aren't hearing about it. I don't think Seager has a snowball chance in hell of getting traded at this point. I think that was dead in the water as soon as Semien got traded to the Mets.
So from what I heard, he requested the trade, but Texas has shot it down, and they don't plan on moving him. They did tell Brandon Nimmo they're going to go after it. They do plan on being involved in. I wouldn't be shocked if they land Kyle Tucker, to be completely honest with you. There's another team that operates in silence. They have a lot of money to spend. They have a lot of money on pitching. Adolis, I think you just had to get rid of. You needed the roster spot. You have Evan Carter and the other young outfielder who hits pretty well. So you're just making room at this point. Simeon, from what I've been told, was a locker room issue. He was nuts, apparently. So they were willing to get rid of him. So go have fun with Jeff McNeil. But yeah, I think Texas is still in. They're still going to go after it. They're going to land a top arm that nobody's expecting. They're going to go and land a top outfielder. Not that there's many available. They're going to be in play for some players, and it's going to shock some people. It's going to be one of those ones that, like when he went to Texas, when Corey Seager went to Texas, nobody was expecting that. They were expecting him to go back to the Dodgers, and I think they're just going to be one of them sneaky teams out of nowhere. It's going to land. I don't know if it's going to be like a big time guy. Like if it's not Kyle Tucker, I don't think they're getting like Schwarber or Alonso or anything like that. But I think they take a swing at Kyle Tucker at least.
So why does Seager want out of Texas? Does he see the writing on the wall, or is just not happy there? Thinks that there's
I wonder
a team
if it was Simeon. I don't know.
That's a good point. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
No. Man, Jabo getting each of the first 3 comments here. Rogers very likely won't have a sub-2 ERA again, so I think it's unwise to assume he's our de facto ace. We need more. I think Kyle Bradish is your de facto ace, number 1. Yeah. Number 2, I'm not expecting a sub-2 ERA out of Trevor Rogers, but if you get a sub-3.5 ERA out of Trevor Rogers, that's still a really good pitcher for your starting rotation. Yep. I mean, I look back at the 2014 Orioles rotation, and I think the best ERA on that staff was like 3.20 out of maybe Wei-Yin Chen. So, no, not even Wei Chen. I think it was like Miguel Gonzalez or something like that. But
I remember Miguel.
Yeah, that rotation was like, that rotation ERA was 3.61. There wasn't an ace on that staff, but you had 5 guys who posted up every 5th day and gave you 6 innings of
Yep.
2.
I think we just lost Paul. Or me. I don't know. Paul's frozen on my end, though. That's all I know. So I'm not hearing anything. So we lost Paul. So I'll keep up for it. Oh, Paul's back. All right, there we go.
Oh, you got me? Yeah, I was like, I think I lost my connection here because I was talking and it said that I lost my connection and I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
So we're just on opposite sides of the screen now. But yeah, so you had a whole staff back that had a 3.61 ERA combined in 2014, no ace in that rotation, and yet they still managed to win 96 games and get to the ALCS because every guy did their job.
Yep.
Yes, I want an ace now, but if you give me a rotation full of guys to pitch to an ERA between 3.5 and 4, I'm good. That's going to win you a lot of baseball games in 2026. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't think like I said, I'm with you with Bradish. I think Bradish is the ace by far. If you gave me a rotation of Bradish and Framber or Ranger or King and then Rogers, I think we're in really good shape. I think Rogers sits himself very nicely in that 3 role. Don't want to push him mentally, expectation wise, into the 2 hole or even the 1 hole. I think he let him just pitch and be comfortable. Leave him down in the 3, get somebody slotted ahead of him, which I think Framber and King are probably better than him. In the bigger moments, I should say, just let him be him and just leave him alone in the 3.
Well, and the other thing is just to not completely bury what we're talking about here. The Orioles do need more. They need more. They can't go into, especially after trading Grayson. They can't go into man, this camera is like off for me. They can't go into 2026 with Cade Povich a part of their, and Tyler Wells for that matter, a part of their rotation plans. They just can't. Tyler Wells has to be in your bullpen. I think Cade Povich either has to be starting at Norfolk or be a swingman in your bullpen. Because I do believe he's a major league pitcher, but I don't think he should be in the starting rotation for a team that has plans on contending for a World Series.
Right.
So for me, yeah, they absolutely need to do more. But to say that Rogers, one, I don't think that they're looking at Rogers as their de facto ace, and I do think that Rogers and Brad as your number 1 and 2, or your number 1 and number 3, or your 2 and 3, has the makings of a really, really good rotation, really good. And I firmly believe they're bringing in 2 starting pitchers. I think that when they traded Grayson, I think it made that all but a certainty that they're bringing in 2 starters.
If they did acquire Gore, I think I've seen somebody say that Gore is a left-handed version of Cease, and I think I agree with that because it's a high strikeout thing. He does give up some contact. Young, I could agree with that. If they did acquire Gore, where would you slide him in the rotation, knowing that Bradish is your ace, likely?
If he's the only acquisition, or is this assuming they bring in like a
Framber? We'll say only right now.
Well, then he's your number 3.
Gore?
Yeah.
Would you put Rogers at 2?
I'd put Rogers at 2. I'd put Gore at, well, I mean, unless you want to separate the left-handed pitching, maybe
that matters.
I don't know if it matters either, but yeah, I would just based on this. Rogers earned the right to be one of your top 2 pitchers next year if they don't bring in like a Framber Valdez.
Yeah.
I think that Framber Valdez is also the only guy that you bring in that you slot ahead of those 2 guys. Mm-hmm. If you bring in a Ranger Suarez, or you bring in Zach Gallen or Mackenzie Gore or Joe Ryan or insert name here, they have to go in at 3 and 4. With Dean Kramer as your number 5. I think if Dean Kramer is any higher than your number 5 on this team, you didn't do enough this offseason. But Bradish, the fact that he's been so good when he's been healthy here, and the fact that he's been here, the fact that Trevor Rogers was your most valuable Oriole last year, pitched to a sub-2 ERA, and got down ballot Cy Young votes, to me, that says these guys are our 1 and 2, unless Framber comes in, and then there are 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can make the legitimate case that you've got 3 aces in the top 3 slots of your rotation. You bring in a Framber Valdez, but that doesn't mean that the guys that they bring in aren't better than what you have here.
Right.
It just means that they aren't enough to push those 2 guys out from being in front of them.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
And it doesn't matter where you start either. Like, obviously, there's eventually you're going to get to a point where you have a 6-man rotation. Or there's eventually you're going to point where you have X amount of days off where guy's going to miss a start or somebody's going to get pushed back, and you can make that change later. Like if you acquired Gore, started him at 3, and he is pitching better than Rogers just by a little bit, you make that switch in June or something like that. Like it's not a start the season, end the season kind of thing.
Well, yeah, there's off days and there's injuries, and sometimes you skip a start. You know, like there's things that happen where the lineup of your rotation certainly doesn't. Like you're only guaranteed to have your ace face the other team's ace on opening day. After that, it's a crapshoot. It's just like your leadoff hitter is only guaranteed to lead off one time every game.
Yep.
So, like where they slot matters more for optics than the actual season itself.
Yeah.
So, but
You're
I
still
think
going to
that
get 30 some starts, hopefully. No matter where you are.
Exactly. I think that they need to have 5 guys that are solid that make 25 starts plus this year.
Yeah.
You know, but injuries happen. You know, hopefully they just don't happen to somebody who's in the top 3 of your rotation.
Yeah.
Adit. Apparently, Houston and Baltimore have been eyeing Ranger for a while. Zach?
Yeah. I mean, they better be eyeing everybody. Until you put pen to paper, you better be eyeing somebody.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we're at this point. And I get it. These guys want to test free agency. But I'm surprised that Suarez and Schwarber aren't already back in Phillies uniforms. To me, those guys, like, the Phillies have been one of the better teams in baseball the last half decade, but they have nothing to show for it. And they're not getting younger. I'm surprised that they aren't like, hey, let's bring these guys back, and let's make one more run at this thing or a few more runs at this thing. Now, I get it that you're bringing back a couple of guys who aren't spring chickens anymore, but Kyle Schwarber is arguably the best power, not arguably, he is the best power bat on the market, and he gets on base. The guy hits what, 230, 240 every year, but still gets on base at a 375 clip because he walks 100 times every year. Yep. Like, I'm just surprised that the Phillies would ever let these guys go. If the Orioles have been eyeing Ranger for a while, like you said, they should be. They should be eyeing everybody that can make a difference for this ball club. I'm just shocked. Shocked isn't the right word. I guess I'm not surprised, but it is interesting to me that the Phillies just haven't brought these guys back yet.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them that they've tried. I think there might be some other teams out there that are just finally giving them a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. Bradish from Steven Trust. Bradish is our ace. I see Rogers is number 3. People, there's no D in Trevor Rogers' name. I just want to put that out there. But anyway, as number 3, bring in Suarez or King as our number 2. Wells and Kramer can round out the rotation. I wouldn't object to both Ranger and Framber. Tyler Wells can't be in your rotation. Like, if
he's a swing guy, like a 6-man, it makes a spot start here and there, like Albert Suarez used to do. I'm 100% fine with that. I think he's 100%. Good enough to do that. But do I want him to grab the ball every 5th or 6th day? When he had that, was it 23? When he started out, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball in that first half until he got tired. Was it 23?
I think he had the lowest whip in the American League.
Yeah, it was like 0.6 or something.
At the All-Star break. Like in the first half, he had the lowest whip in the American League.
Yeah.
But he also had given up like 20 solo home runs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so that's a guy that I trust to make some swing starts, dude. But I think the Orioles do look back at 23 and wonder what could have been with a healthy Tyler Wells, and do they maybe want to give him a shot? I don't know. Now, look, if he comes into spring training and he's objectively throwing the ball better than Dean Kramer, give him the shot, make Ding the swing guy. I'm fine with that too, because like I said, doesn't matter where you start, it's where you finish.
Well, and that's the other thing is I don't think they're willing to move Dean out of the rotation.
I don't either.
Because
unless they trade him.
Right. And Dean Kramer is going to give you I mean, let's look at this. I mean, I know that he gets hurt every year for like a month. It
He
feels
usually
like.
misses like 5, 6 starts. So when I compared him to Gore, he had 7 less starts over the last 2 years. But Gore's a relatively really healthy guy, relatively.
Well, and Kramer, he actually made 29 starts last year, but he's
Right.
gone since he became a full-time starter for the Orioles, and that was back in 2022, or well,
Hmm.
2021, really. He's gone 13, 21, 32, 24, 29 starts. He's thrown over 170 innings 2 of the last 3 years. I think that that's a guy that they anticipate being in their rotation. When he makes 29, 30 starts a year, he gets you double digit wins and he
Right.
gives you 170 innings. That's a guy that they want in their rotation, but they want him at the back end as number 5. I think they look at Tyler Wells and they say, we want to build his innings up. We want to, bring him into spring training in a starter's role, because I think I don't think that the Orioles are stupid enough, and I hate to say that, but I don't think that they're stupid enough to put Tyler Wells in their rotation. He has proven to you beyond the shadow of a doubt that he won't make it through a full season. If you do that, you can't
Yeah.
depend on him to post up every fifth day for 162 games. So
Yeah.
you
I
stretch him
think
out
that. Go
to
ahead,
put him
sorry.
in that Suarez. You stretch him out to put him in that Suarez role.
Yeah,
100%.
and Suarez was like a freaking Swiss Army knife. Like there was times they used him in the 8th inning, there was times they used him in the 9th inning, there was times that he started and gave you 4 innings. Like I see Tyler Wells being that kind of guy. I think the stuff plays just like Alberts does.
Tyler Wells as a reliever is an absolute weapon. He
Yeah,
is an absolute weapon, and the Orioles know that.
yeah,
And I think that
97, 98 likely is what you would see on the regular.
yeah.
Maybe
So
this was prior to Tommy John, but
I mean, he pitched really well coming back from Tommy
yeah,
John last year.
he did.
So I think that you're going to see, you might see 90, 95 innings out of Tyler Wells, maybe
Mhm.
100 innings out of Tyler Wells this year. But I think his job is to be, like you said, that Swiss Army knife in your bullpen,
Yep.
and be a weapon for them. And where you can bring him in the 4th inning, you can bring him in the 9th inning, and he's going to get the job done for you.
Now listen, Michael King had that same route in his career. You started as a starter, had a little bit of issues, went to the bullpen, he got hurt, came back out of the bullpen, and then San Diego put him back in the starting rotation. And now look at him; he's looking for a pretty good payday. So Tyler Wells can maybe take a page out of that book.
Yeah, absolutely, and he kind of already did, right? Because when they brought him up as the Rule 5 pick, he started out in the bullpen. He became your de facto closer by the end of that season. Then the next year, he came out of spring training like, we got to use this guy as a starter, and it's gonna be 3 innings or 60 pitches, and it's like it's the 5th inning and he's at 57 pitches, like. It did not go as planned because he was too good. So
Yeah.
I do believe that Tyler Wells has the ability to be a top half of the rotation starting pitcher. I don't think he has the durability. And they say the
Yeah.
best ability is availability. And if he's not available, he's not helping you. And the Orioles know that. Like, if you and I can sit here and have that conversation and we know that, the Orioles know that. So
Yeah.
I think that they're bringing in 2 starters, and I think that they're looking at Tyler Wells exactly as you said, as that swing guy who can make spot starts for you. What do you think the likelihood is from Austin? What do you think the likelihood is we get Alonso or Schwarber?
I'm going to go with 80%. One of the
You
two.
think so? You think
Yeah.
You think it's that high?
I do.
That's it. That's exciting. I'm a little less optimistic. I am excited that I've heard rumors. I won't say from who, but I've heard rumors that they are, really in on Schwarber. It came out yesterday that they're still in on Alonso. You said you saw this morning that they're still in on Kyle Tucker. There's 5 big bats on the market if you count Bellinger and Bichette.
You know what's pretty funny? So when I was reading this, so Tucker actually visited the Orioles facility too, and nobody cares, but he visited the Blue Jays in the same day, and it's like everybody and their mother like made a statement about it. But he literally visited the Orioles too.
Well, and
He lives 15 minutes from both ballparks.
nobody takes the Orioles seriously
Right.
because of what they did last offseason. Michael Elias has signed 1 player to a multi-year contract, and that had an opt-out after the first year, and it didn't work out, and that was Tyler O'Neill. So nobody takes the Orioles seriously. And they also, one team went to the World Series and was like literally this close to winning the World Series, and the other team won 75 games. So you sign one of these guys, or you sign Framber Valdez, and then see what happens. They'll start talking about this team a lot more. And they're already talking about the Orioles a lot. It's just not as much as the other teams because the other teams had more successful seasons last year and actually spent money to be successful last year. So,
and that's going to be a tough sell to some of these guys. Like, hey, yeah, we just won 75 games. We want to sign you. And their first questions be, what can you offer me? How do I know that you're going to make the postseason? It's going to be a tough sell.
So I do want to get into this a little bit. Alonso and Schwarber. You look at the Orioles team. Now, look, if you can sign one of them or both of them, which would be like ridiculous, but if you can sign one of them, Mountcastle, Mayo, O'Neill, Rutschman, Basayo, they all can't be here, right? They all can't be here. If you sign Alonso, Mountcastle, bye-bye. Mayo is probably part of a trade.
Yeah.
You sign Schwarber, same thing. He's not going to play the field at all. They might put him at first base if they need to. He's not setting foot on any grass.
Yeah.
And he's going to DH 99.8% of the time. I don't know how you have I think the multiple of those guys get traded if you sign one or both of these guys. And I hate to be one of those. I don't want to be a fan of one of those fan bases that says, like, I was watching John Heyman's live the other day, and this guy kept commenting, Yankees are going to sign Alonso and Schwarber, and then they trade Stanton and bring in Kyle Tucker. And it's like, I'm not going to be one of those fans. It's like, they can sign both of these guys. They can. They have the money to sign both these guys, especially if they want. They're claiming that they're willing to go into the red. They can sign both of these guys, trade for a starting pitcher, and sign Framber Valdez, and still be fine.
And still have money left over for the bullpen.
Exactly. So, what do they do with the roster if they sign one of these guys? Because it just can't. A lot of these guys that are already here can't still be here.
That was my first question: is you sign Schwarber. And like, what does that do for Basayo getting DH spots as left-handed? And do you just stick him at first base in a lefty-heavy lineup? I don't know. I just don't think Mayo's here at all, to be completely honest with you. And it's no fault to him. I think the Orioles love him. He presents the biggest value to bring in a quality arm. And because they're not trading Basayo. I mean, let's be completely honest. So, Mountcastle, I doubt is here unless they fail on bringing in Alonso or somebody like that. Mountcastle, I think right now is just a backup plan. Full intentions of trading Kobe Mayo. So you still have your right-handed first baseman who plays pretty decent defense. Because if you trade him, cut him, whatever, you only owe him 20%. Whatever, it's $1 million, $1.8 million. Who cares? And it's if you can trade him before the arbitration hearing, you don't owe him a dime. So there's that. So I think they just gave himself a backup plan. I don't think he's on the roster comes opening day.
Mountcastle, you're talking about?
Yeah, Mountcastle. I don't think Mayo's here either. So if Mountcastle will be here if they don't land Alonso, but yeah. I think you, at this point you sign a guy and figure it out later.
Yeah, I don't think that you can sign either one of these guys and still plan on Mountcastle being here. Because if you sign Schwarber, he DHs, which means Basayo has to move to first base. It just doesn't make sense for any of them to still be here. And for some reason, they are so against trying Kobe Mayo at a corner outfield spot to utilize that arm. And I get it that maybe he's like a fawn trying to run out there, like his feet are just too big. But like, you sign either one of these guys, and it's doomsday for Mountcastle and Mayo on this roster because unless the Tigers come calling and they're like, we want to trade you, Tarek Skubal, for Samuel Basayo's going to be here. That's what it's going to be. So today's show, I was going to ask you if you would do that. Like, for 1 year of Skubal, would I trade Basayo?
I'd be on the phone and securing at least a 3-year deal. At least. I don't care if it was $50 million a year, 3 or 150. I don't care. I wouldn't trade Basayo unless I, prior to coming here, agreed with an extension. If I did, bye-bye, buddy.
Oh, 100%. If you trade Basayo for Skubal and you know that Skubal's signing a multi-year deal here, so he's not just a rental, then absolutely. Now, if you're just tuning in and you're hearing us say this, that hasn't been reported. It's not. This is a hypothetical situation trying to figure out, what to do if you sign Alonso or Schwarber. But the Tigers aren't trading Scooble unless they get blown away, and they would have to be a Basayo. Today's show brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. If you're feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself, it could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, they specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. You can contact Game Day Men's Health at Owings Mills at 443-264-4454, Columbia at 443-266-3505, or Frederick at 240-931-3717, or visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com and ask them about a complimentary testosterone test. Moving on here, Adit says, I think it's 1 Framber, 2 Ranger, 3 King, and 4 Gallant in that order in terms of free agency. I think that's pretty accurate in terms of the Orioles' interest in which starting pitcher they want to bring. I think Framber is the number 1 guy on the list.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it's true that it really is kind of down to the Orioles and the Mets for Framber?
I do, but I wouldn't be shocked, like I said, if there's a secret team in there. I just hope the Orioles aren't used as leverage. And as I was asking you earlier about that guy, John Morosi. So Morosi was on a podcast the other day and basically said that the Orioles were set to land multiple pitchers last year. And at the very last minute got outbid. And they couldn't match. So they tried. And I know it was reported that they tried, but for what Morosi was saying is they had agreements in hand with multiple starting pitchers and lost out in the last second. And he was basically saying that it's not going to happen this year. They learned their lesson. I think I would probably put King ahead of Ranger. I would do Framber, King, Ranger, Gallen. And I think after King, I think they move to the trade market because I think they probably look at Gallen as not a guy as good as somebody they could acquire.
See, and I don't think that they sign 2 of these guys on this list. I think they sign 1 legitimate free agent starting pitcher, and I think they trade for another. And I think that's how they clear up. And I do 100%, not 100%, but I do believe that they're signing a big bat. Mm-hmm. I believe that there's a if they sign 2, man, I'll do the next show naked. You know what?
Go that far.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go that far. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. But that's I would be so shocked if they signed 2 big bats. But I also don't think that you can plan on Leotis Tavares being your center fielder.
No.
And that's why I'm so shocked that we haven't heard anything about Bellinger here. Yeah. Because
I think Bellinger's price is a little more than they're willing to pay a guy on the other end of 30. Like, how long is he going to be able to play center field for you? And if you signed Alonso or even still have, 8 years of Basayo, like, do I have room to move Cody Bellinger to first base? Now, if you had it where you could move him to DH, sure. But I don't think they want to put their eggs in the basket of him playing center field very long.
Yeah, and I think that Bellinger thinks that he's worth more than he's actually worth. And his agent is certainly telling him, but that's his agent's job. Jabo agrees with you, by the way. He would switch King and Ranger also. Yeah. I don't know, man. I keep seeing people so willing to trade Dylan Beavers. He was pretty good, when he came up.
Beavers have a really good career.
Yeah,
if you can bring somebody back that's really good on the mound, you're gonna have to take that chance.
Yeah, you make that trade, and especially if you've already got. Oh man, I'd much rather trade Kowser. I would much rather.
The Orioles rather too, but these other teams probably don't.
Yeah. Adit says, I think King is more of a backup option and Ranger is a bigger priority. The upside for King is so good, though, and he's so much younger. I just... Doesn't... Ranger Suarez, how old is he? For some reason, he just seems like a dude that's already 35.
I think he's 31. Thought he was 31. 30.
30. Why does he? Maybe because of Robert Suarez and Albert Suarez both being past 35 years old. It makes me think that Ranger Suarez
He'll be 31 in August, so he's fairly young-ish.
Yeah, he's certainly young. Starting pitching and bats are completely different when it comes to age, in my opinion. So let's see here. Jabo, if Suarez declines at all with his lack of velo, it's going to be bad. I mean,
that's most people's concern.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why he's behind King as a preference.
But when I did look at it, his so he has a slider, changeup, curveball, and the 3 pitches combined last year gave up a 192 average with a 26% K rate, which is good. So as long as those don't fall off, I think he's still going to be pretty effective.
Yeah, and he's a guy who every year he just goes out there and he posts up. He just gives you good numbers year after year after year. And if he doesn't throw that hard, it also probably means his arm's going to last that much longer.
Right.
Alston says, get Alonso and Framber and trade for Gore, and I'll build the Elias statue. I think
there'd be a lot of people out there really be helping you there, Alston.
So, getting back to Mackenzie Gore, if you put Mackenzie Gore in a rotation that's with Framber, Bradish, and Rogers as Kramer. Mackenzie Gore, does he get that much better?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that being in a rotation that's good? It ups his game.
Here's the thing with Mackenzie Gore too, and I put it in my Kyle Finnegan video. Kyle Finnegan got exceptionally better leaving DC. DC just cleared house. Like, they didn't keep a single coach. They thought they all stunk. How much better does Gore get leaving DC? And I think that's the question that a lot of these teams are probably asking. It's probably attributing to why his value is still pretty high. How much better? You're looking at a guy with high strikeout, a good fastball. He's left-handed. He's durable. And he could still probably get better leaving DC.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you right now, you get Framber and Gore in this rotation, that is the best rotation in the AL. And I'm not afraid to say that.
No, I agree with you. I don't know how you can say that it isn't. I know that Toronto has Yasevich, Gossman, Cease, and who are the other guys that they have? Because I don't think Barrios is
Bieber.
So
they're trying to trade Barrios, apparently.
Yeah. Do you see all those mock trades from Blue Jays fans saying, give us Gunnar, we'll give you Barrios? Like that would ever happen?
Maybe Barrios and Yasevich. Maybe.
Yeah.
But still probably not.
Sean Whipple, I think looking at Suarez, Valdez, King, and all others together is stupid. I honestly think it's one of either Suarez or Valdez and one of the second tier. Who's in the second tier? Is that where you have guys like Zach Gallen? Is that the second tier? I think after
Probably.
I think
second
there's a
tier
big
free agents, yeah.
Yeah, I think that after Suarez, Valdez, and King, I think that you have a significant drop off,
Yeah.
Today's show also brought to you by Glenn Clark Radio. If you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including Hall of Famer Rob Woodson, former Orioles closer Zach Britton, and Ravens Super Bowl 35 champion Sam Adams, you can find that and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. And as always, watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or right here on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. We just mentioned Gunnar. And something I've been thinking about, let's say that you go out there and you sign an Alonso or a Schwarber to a 5-year deal worth $35 to $40 million annually, right? Mm-hmm. And then you also sign a Framber Valdez, and you've already signed a Helsley to the back end for the back end of your bullpen. Not that he has a huge impact on what you can do. How much money do you have left for Gunnar? Do you think Gunnar has any chance of staying with the Orioles long term? Do you think that these players see you going and signing outside players to long-term deals while they don't have extensions yet, and they feel some kind of way about it? How does that? What's the domino effect for guys who are already here, like a Gunnar, a Westberg, a Holiday? What does that feel like for them?
They might think about it maybe 10% of the time. I mean, I think they understand that they're still under contract here for 4 more years, and there's a lot of baseball to be played before they hit the open market, and they control their own destiny. Do they want extensions? Yeah, sure. They probably do. But I think they understand the business side of baseball too, and it's probably, unless you're like that confident in yourself that you're like, I have to have an extension before I play again or something stupid, like the NFL does. I don't think they put too much stock in that. Baseball is a little bit different. I think it's a blessing when you get one, but I think everybody knows that you're here to prove it for 6 years first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense. Like Gunnar knows he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
Westberg, Holiday, they know that if they post up, it's really on them to get paid. If they just go out there, like if Westberg continues to play 100 games or less every year, it's on him. You know, because he couldn't stay on the field. Yeah. And Westberg, a lot of people think that Gunnar is the guy who led the Orioles in hitting with runners in scoring position. I think Westberg had a higher batting average with runners in scoring position than Gunnar did last year.
Yeah.
Like Westberg has got to stay on the field for this team because he is an impact bat for them when he's healthy. Yep. And he needs to be for himself because if he goes out and produces like he's capable of and he plays 140 to 155 games a year, he's going to make a lot of money in this league. But it's up to those players. You know, Mr. Objective, feel like Gore isn't worth it. He's good, but I'd rather get Peralta. I mean, Gore's got more control. I thought that Peralta was a free agent after 2027, but Zach says he's a free agent after this year. I mean, I would love to have Peralta. You know what I mean? I would love for Max Fried to get traded here. You know, it doesn't make the Yankees
Peralta's
would never do it.
He's probably better. But like we just talked about a couple minutes ago, like what Mackenzie Gore are you getting when he finally leaves DC? Like, could he turn into that really dominant arm that people think that he can? And if he does, he's probably better than Peralta at that point with control. So I think it just depends on that's something you're not going to know until you get there, though. Peralta, which people need to understand, is he's from Milwaukee. And Milwaukee does everything really good. Really, really good. They're a fundamental team. They coach really well. They pick up on the little things. They have him at the top of his game. Is he going to be at the top of his game somewhere else? Remains to be seen.
Yeah, and it's look, if Peralta came here, I'd absolutely love it. But I would all year, I think we'd be having the same conversations that we had when Corbin Burns was here. Is they've got to accept him. They've got to accept him. If he's not here after the season, you gave up too much for him. I don't.
Right.
I don't want to go through another season of that. Like,
yeah.
And then having those conversations in the off season, and then being so upset when he doesn't end up back here. I don't know. I would love Peralta to be in here, but I'm not going to be upset if it never happens.
Yeah.
So let's see, Austin. I came in a little late, so not sure if you talked about it, but what are your thoughts on Tatsuya Imai?
Amaya? The projections are there to say that he's going to be good. Is he going to be good? You don't know until he gets here. Would I enjoy him and think that he could slot into the 3 spot in our rotation? Yeah. Would I like him and Michael King? Yeah, I think it still makes your rotation pretty good. I think he's going to be good. It's just a matter of durability. You know, when those guys come over here, they seem to get hurt or they tire down pretty quickly. Some of them, like Amaga, came over here and pitched extremely well. It doesn't always happen. I don't know. I'd take the flyer on him. I mean, when you look at who was the World Series MVP? What the hell's his name?
Oh, Yoshida Yamamoto.
Yeah, Yamamoto. His first year was good, but the past year was great. So if you got a good year out of Amaya and then you got a great year, like, yeah, I mean, there's that again. It's back to the risk thing. You got to start diving in and taking some of these risks. You know, hoping that somebody like him is going to come in year 2 and 3, be extremely good, but whatever you get out of him in year 1 is just you're happy with. Yeah, I would love to have him.
Yeah. Let me. You brought up Imanaga, who really good for the Cubs the last 2 years. He was phenomenal his rookie year, and then last year he was still really good, not nearly as good as he was his rookie year, and he was non-tendered by the Cubs. Why? Why would they not want to bring that guy back in? Is he
I didn't
not
understand that? And then he took the qualifying offer for $7 million more.
So wait, they offered him the qualifying offer?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
How does that work? Because if they made him the qualifying offer, but I thought he was non-tendered.
He was non-tendered at $15 million.
Oh, did he have an option?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had an option for $15 million.
Yep.
They didn't give him that option, and maybe they had already worked out a deal like, hey, we'll give you the qualifying offer, let you test free agency, but then he accepts a qualifying offer anyway. That's what is that, 21, 22 million?
So from what I think, I forget who said it. It might have been John Heyman, but I don't think the Cubs were expecting him to accept it, and it kind of threw a monkey wrench in their plans.
Man, I don't, if you're not expecting somebody to accept it, like, but you don't know, I don't know how you do that. Like,
I think Kyle they wanted the first round pick.
You better be damn sure. Like, if your plans hinge on whether or not he accepts that, and you haven't been told he will not accept it, I don't know how you take that chance. Like I don't know if you have a lot riding on it. I don't know. Like Corbin Burns, they gave him a qualifying offer because they knew that there was no chance he was accepting it. Kyle Tucker got a qualifying offer. Bo Bichette got a qualifying offer because they know there's no chance that they're accepting it. So at least they aren't standing there with their hands in their pockets, when those guys sign elsewhere.
Well, look at Trent Grisham. That dude didn't deserve $22 million. They had to know that he was taking that.
Trent Grisham, in my opinion, is one of the worst baseball players in the league. Who he used a very short porch in New York to find his way to 34 home runs this past season. And I don't think he's
Aaron Judge hitting behind him.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever hitting 34 home runs again. I think he plays very.
I think did you hit mute by accident, Paul? Or is it me? I don't hear anything. And I don't know if it's me, though. Paul's muted? Okay, that's what Laura said. You didn't unplug it or anything, did you? Or unplug it and plug it back in? Yeah, Daniel said your audio just suddenly went out. There it goes. Whatever you just did.
I don't know what just happened.
Oh, it just switched to your camera though.
Oh, you know why? I unplugged my microphone and then plugged it back in. All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, but it's coming through your camera. It's loud.
All right, I don't know what's going on, but we'll just keep going because we don't want to just keep trying to figure out what's going on here. Next comment here. I think the most important thing about this offseason is showing your young players you're serious about winning, which will make them more likely to re-sign. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to eventually rip the Band-Aid off and just go after it. Because if not, what incentive do they have to want to stay here?
Is it more important to prove to your players or prove to your fan base?
Probably your players. Because if you get them, if you win, the fans are going to come regardless of who you have. Somehow, if you could have a bunch of nobodies and find a way to win, and your fans are going to come out. But if you want your players to actually sign here, you have to show the dedication, and the fans will follow that. The fans are always going to follow winning.
Yeah, I agree with that. The most important thing to get your fans to keep coming out is to win. You got to win baseball games. Like, how do we get fans in the stands? Win baseball games. The price of your tickets, the price of your concessions, price of parking will not matter if your team is consistently winning and making it to the postseason. It's not going to matter. It's so yeah. I think it's more important to prove to your players because winning solves a lot of things. It solves a lot of things. I did like this comment from Sean Whipple. No, I'm sorry, not that comment. I lost because I had to go to the bottom trying to figure out if people could hear me or not. But oh my gosh, I'm sorry. There was a comment actually from a Deet that I really thought was good. He said, "Isn't me? But as soon as I saw the Mets and the Orioles are the only two in on Framber, my immediate reaction was neither of those two will sign Framber." Like what we were talking about earlier, where you have a guy who is linked to these two teams, but then a mystery team comes in, and I think that happens a lot. Like, could you see Framber re-signing with the Astros? Why are the Astros not the favorite to re-sign Framber? How are the Dodgers or the Yankees?
The Dodgers, they don't need any more starting pitching at this point. They just need bullpen. It's the Astros, I think, are cutting money. Apparently, they're not linked to anybody. They're not even talking to anybody. Could they swing a trade? Maybe, sure. But I mean, could the Phillies make a run at them? Yeah, probably. There's more teams than just two, I think. Those are probably just the two teams that you're hearing the most from his agent.
So I want to go back to something you said, where you said that John Morosi said that the Orioles had pitchers with contracts in hand, and they got outbid at the last second. And then you said you think the Orioles have learned their lesson. How do you learn your lesson from that?
Go bigger. Don't let them leave the room.
So you think that basically the Orioles offered them a fair market value, but then somebody else came in and was like, no, we want to offer you this. And they were like, all right, see you, Orioles. And do you think that these other teams, so these other players, they get the contract offer from the Orioles, they're like, yeah, I think we want to do this. And then the other team comes in, do they go back to the Orioles and like, hey, they offered us this? Is that how it goes? Or is it like, oh, you offered me way more, I'm going to take that deal and screw the Orioles?
It might be both. It probably just depends on the player and the agent at that point, or your relationship with Mike Elias. They don't owe you anything to do that. It could be a respectful thing. It's like if you're leaving a job and say, oh, hey, so-and-so paid me or offered me this much. And you're giving them the chance to match. Some companies do, some companies don't. So it just depends. I don't think everybody goes back to the Orioles and be like, hey, this is what I got. I think at some point they're just like, holy crap, and the offer is so big, it's like that's their way of saying you're not leaving this room, right? So I think it just depends on the situation. And if some of them could have come back and the Orioles were just like, we just don't think that's a good value for our franchise, and that might be the lesson they learned too. I don't know.
But because I can't imagine, and maybe I can't imagine, I don't know, but I can't imagine the Orioles going just far and away above market value to any player so that they don't get outbid. Like, it kind of makes me think about when they were in a bidding war against themselves for Chris Davis. Right. You know what I mean? Like, are they just off the bat saying, hey, Framber, we'll give you 6 years, 6 years, $200 million, like right off the bat, to give him $34 million a year? Or I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, what the smart move would be, because you don't want to set the market by being the one that overpays right at the beginning. Yeah. I don't know how that works, man. The whole thing just, it makes my brain hurt. But
being a GM.
And that's why they make millions, That Pigtown fella is so hot.
Oh, you're making me blush.
Be more W. Is there any shot that we obtain 2 starting pitchers before the season? I'd say almost with certainty.
Yeah.
I don't see any scenario in which maybe I can see a scenario in which they don't, but they would really have to be betting hard on Kate Povich or or Tyler Wells. What's the other guy's name who made some starts for them?
Brandon Young.
Brandon Young, that's his name. Yeah, they'd be banking hard on one of those three guys to be in their rotation and last the entire season. They get a top armor free agency and trade for Gore. Rotation can be Bradish, free agent, Rogers, Kramer, Gore. Would you put Gore behind Kramer?
Probably not.
I don't think so either.
Just for the
Austin
alone.
Austin says, I think we make a trade with the Marlins again. Who would you want from the Marlins? Do you think Alcantara is right? Do you want to bring in Weathers? Do you have like Cabrera, Yuri Perez? Like, who would you want from that you would be comfortable putting in this rotation saying, all right, we're good to go?
I think they're all good compliments if you signed Framber. So at that point, it wouldn't matter to me. I think they're all good. Good enough. Now, the only negative that I have against Edward Cabrera is he was the worst pitcher in baseball at holding runners. Like, at times, he allowed guys to get 30 feet before he delivered the ball. And it's only 90 to second base, so that's real bad. The Orioles, I think, they actually one of the better teams in baseball last year, only allowing like 11 as a whole squad. So you're looking at a guy who's allowing almost 2 times more before he released the ball. That's my only gripe on Edwin Cabrera. He's still coming off an injury. I think he's still got a good arm. Alcantara, I think, is still fine. Still going to be really, really good. Those two probably slot you at 3 or 4. So and same with Ryan Weathers. It doesn't matter. I mean, if they traded with the Marlins, I'm going to be pretty happy with whoever they acquired.
And in 2024, the Orioles were so bad at holding runners. I mean, between Burns, Bautista, Kimbrel, Cano, and when Tyler Wells was healthy, those guys could not hold runners worth a lick. But I don't know, man. I just want to see them do something. I want to see a big move. I joked yesterday that they're making a big signing either last night or tonight because whenever I'm working at the restaurant is when these guys get signed. Literally every signing that they did last year happened while I was at that restaurant. Every single one of them. So, that's what I'm anticipating. Are you surprised that we haven't seen more movement prior to the winter meetings?
Probably not. I think these guys. Now, look, could something pop today because everybody's in Orlando? Maybe. But for the most part, I think everybody's market was maybe not as many teams involved as they expected. So they're going to wait for tomorrow to kind of see, if some interest grows. And if it doesn't, we might hear a bunch of things spout off tomorrow. But I think baseball really wants to focus on these meetings. So they may just be telling these guys to just wait. So who knows?
It's possible. It's entirely possible. Do you think we see a flurry of activity tomorrow? Or do you think this is something that's kind of trickles out across the 4 days?
I think maybe we'll see one really, really big one and a couple like tier 2, tier 3s. But I think Monday is the hot and heavy day.
I'm going to the Ravens Steelers game tomorrow, so I'm glad I'm going to have something that's going to take my attention off of the Orioles and what they are or are not doing. Because the last few days I've just been sitting here refreshing my timeline every 2 minutes, and it's been driving me absolutely nuts. A bigger shock: Orioles signed Tucker or a big name free agent between 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tucker would be a bigger shock for me.
Yeah, probably.
Because he's the top free agent out there. I think he's number 1. Even ahead of Framber Valdez, I think he's the biggest name out there. And if the Orioles come out of everything with the biggest name out there, I mean, that means that they outdid Toronto, Texas, the Dodgers, the Braves. They literally outbid all of these big teams who really need Tucker services.
I wouldn't sleep on Philly trying to acquire Tucker either, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, and especially if Schwarber's going bye-bye. If Schwarber's not going to be there, they got to do something. That fan base, you talk about how antsy our fan base is. That fan base, they go to the playoffs every year, and they're World Series contenders every year. Mm-hmm. And if they lose Schwarber and they don't bring somebody in to replace him, they will light that stadium on fire.
Probably. Or throw batteries.
Right. No, I disagree with Paul. the Orioles are 1,000% stupid enough to put Wells in the rotation. That's fair. I'm nobody, right? I'm nobody, and I can't imagine ever planning on going into a season with Tyler Wells as somebody who I'm counting on every fifth day. I don't know how you do that, but the stranger things. I don't know how you make Charlie Morton, Tomoyuki Sagano your only starting pitcher acquisitions last year, and I don't know how you get giddy about Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez at the winter meetings, but it happened. It absolutely happened. So let's see. AJ, I don't think they get Schwarber, Alonso, or Bellinger. That's pretty much all the names. He didn't list Bregman or Bichette.
Yeah. I think they get one.
I think they get one too. AJ, the agent and players don't. Somebody said this the other day. The agent and the players don't take the Orioles seriously. That these players don't view the Orioles as a contender. And I honestly believe that players look at the Orioles and they understand that there's talent on the roster, and they
Everybody sees it.
Yeah, there's talent on the roster, and that their big issue last year was that they were hurt.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, one of the most liked people in baseball is Donnie Ecker, and guys legitimately want to play for Donnie Ecker. And apparently, it's a huge deal that he's here as a bench coach, and a lot of people think that he's probably going to be hired as a manager in the next 2 years. Like, he's one of the brightest minds in baseball, and everybody loves him. So it could be a way to lure big time players here too.
Yeah, I think the players look at this team and they're like, no, this team is legitimately going to be a contender next year. But I also think that they want to see them sign some players first before they're.
Listen, you were coming in with a new owner who did not want to spend money. And as much as people want to hate Tyler O'Neill was that stepping stone. You finally showed that you were willing to overpay somebody that you wanted, and you showed the whole league. You showed all the players, you showed all the agents. You went in, you got it done. Is it a bad contract? Sure. But you know what? You're now taken more seriously in 2025 than you were in 2024 because of Tyler O'Neill.
You really think so?
Yeah.
For Tyler O'Neill?
$16 million? Did he deserve $16 million? No. But it was the guy that you identified you wanted, and you opened the checkbook and you signed him to a deal that he probably didn't deserve. And you know what? They're going to look at you now when you start to say, I'm interested, and they're going to take you a little bit more seriously that you might overpay for them, in my opinion.
Okay. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Because you're right. Tyler O'Neill, to that point, had only ever played more than 100 games twice in his career. Now, both of those seasons, he hit over 30 home runs. He was coming off a 31 home run season the year before in Boston. But yeah, I think you're right. That almost $17 million a year for 3 years for a guy who doesn't post up. Yeah, I think you're right there. I can see what you're getting at there. Today's show brought to you by the latest edition of the Press Box print issue. These are the final few days to pick up the current issue of Press Box, featuring Maryland Athletic Director Jim Smith on the cover. You can find the new issue for free all throughout the region, including now at all Baltimore area High's dairy stores, or you can read the entire issue of PressBoxOnline.com. And we're just over a week away from our annual Best of Issue hitting stands, featuring our Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year on the cover, and the celebration of the top people, performances, and moments of 2025. I just want to ask you about that. Who do you think, because it's been a bad year for Baltimore and Maryland sports in general, who could possibly be the Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year? I have no idea. We do this show for Press Box, but I don't know who they voted on. They never tell me until it comes out. I learn when everybody else does.
Somehow I think they'd probably just pick like Mark Andrews or something.
Really? After the fumble and the drop in the playoffs? I don't know. Trevor Rogers? I think
that's fair. Yeah.
Does everything just go to Trevor Rogers until somebody does something better?
Yeah.
He made 20 starts for the Orioles, and he was the most valuable Oriole last year. It was a bad year. I get that, but I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that would be deserving more than Trevor Rogers. Sign Bregman, move Westy back to second, and use Holiday as the top trade chip for Skeens. Skeens isn't on the market from what the Pirates are saying.
No.
And do you think Holiday's stock has fallen a little bit, or do you think that people still view him as a guy who's going to be a superstar?
I don't know if they view him as a superstar. I wouldn't say his stock has fallen, though. I think he still has a lot of value, obviously, because he's just turned 22, yesterday or something. So I think it just depends on what he comes out and does. There's still a lot to like there. I mean, he's got a good swing. He's got fast hands. Defensively, may his stock fallen? Maybe a little bit. We'll have to see what they do here with Miguel Cairo this year, and if he makes him just a little bit better. So, I mean, Tony Mansolino was your infield coach. Miguel Cairo played 17 years in the big league. So, hopefully, he can iron some of the first step. Sorry. And get him a little bit more smooth. But right now, I would say the only thing that maybe decreased his value was just the fielding. I think the hitting was where it should be for a 21-year-old. Well, there are more outliers that were better at 21. Sure, it's just not very often.
There are a lot of people who seem to think that they are just so beaten down by this franchise that they truly just believe that the Orioles are going to do something. Like I saw a comment in here that said the Orioles are going to they'll just sign Eflin to a 1-year deal and trade for Mackenzie Gore. I don't think that there's a snowball chance in hell that happens. I don't think Eflin's back at all. But there's a lot of people that just think that the Orioles, they just think the Orioles aren't going to do anything.
Yeah. And pen to paper hits, PTSD is warranted.
Oh, absolutely. Jabo, here's a question. Would you trade Gunnar early or wait until his last year and move him at the deadline like we did with Machado? I don't think you can make the same mistake with Gunnar that you made Machado. You're not learning. Even though it wasn't this regime that was here, it's still the same franchise. And, like you've got to know better. You've got to know better.
I don't think Gunnar goes anywhere. And unless somehow that Aloy is like some superstar, I don't think Gunnar's going anywhere.
You think that they're going to give him an extension here?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a Boris client. Now, Boris clients, they tend to not sign extensions. They have signed extensions, but they usually don't. Do you think that Gunnar tests free agency, or you think he gets extended?
I think he gets extended. Boris has never talked to the Orioles as much as he has under Mike Elias the last 2-3 years. So I think that relationship is getting better every single day. And I mean, it has to, right? You got 4 of his guys, 5 of his guys already. You made him happy trading away, Grayson. So, I do think that things will start to change as Boris gets a little bit older and some of these guys get towards the end of their career.
Who on the free agent market is a Boris client?
Not as many as you would expect. I forget exactly who it was. Let me see if I can pull it up. God, who was it? Alonso definitely is. Bregman definitely is.
Bellinger.
Tucker is not. Tucker's with Excel. Schwarber's with Excel. Michael King's with Excel.
Gallen and Amaya, they're
Okatami or whatever it is too.
So I mean, like, if you sign Pete Alonso, does that help you keep Gunnar long term?
Yeah, maybe. So all you're doing is just building a relationship more and more, which I think has already gotten better.
I think that Gunnar is the face of the franchise, and I think you do whatever you have to keep him. You have to. And when you look at the fact that he's just 24 years old, he's already put up a season like he did he was a rookie of the year, and in 2024, the guy should have hit 50 home runs, but then he felt like he had to carry the entire offense the second half of the season, and the numbers fell off. This past year, I still don't know why the power went down. I think that it has a lot to do with not having the protection behind him, and I think that's another. I think that as much as anything else, bringing in a Schwarber or an Alonso is as much for Gunnar as it is for anything else, because getting Gunnar that kind of protection, he's going to become your best player again. And even he already was your best player last year, and he hit 17 home runs. Like getting Gunnar protection, I think, is a huge priority for this team. Yep. So, Today's show has also been brought to you by County Sports Zone. Fall championship season is winding down at the high school level, and winter season is underway. All year long, find scores, schedules, and updates for every sport and every school all throughout the state of countysports.zone. Countysports.zone is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Just about time for us to get out of here. Sorry to keep you so long today, Zach. I know you got a family and probably have stuff to do with them. But before we get out of here, what is your most realistic, but what you would ultimately want to see from the Orioles that's also realistic?
I think they signed Kyle Schwarber. I think that's their big jump that it gets them over the top. Pitching wise, I don't know if they land Framber. I think they're going to make a valiant attempt at it. Sorry, if you get Framber and Kyle, I think you're a favorite to compete in the East again. I don't want to say you're going to win it because Toronto is bulked up significantly, but just get in the dance. And then I think they do make a trade. If they miss out on Kyle, I do think Alonso is a chance. His market is obviously slow, just like it was last year. And, I mean, can he continue to play first base for a long time? Maybe not. Maybe he can. I don't know. But I think they land one of these top bats, whether that be Tucker, Alonso, or Schwarber. And I think they finally break the PTSD of the fan base.
Yeah, I've sold myself on Kyle Schwarber. Not that I needed much selling to begin with, but sold myself on the idea that the Orioles could actually do it. I think is what I'm getting at. I think that they want to add a big bat, and they know that they need to add a big bat. And I think that I finally believe that they know that Taylor Ward can't be the main addition for the lineup. Yeah. So for me, I look at Schwarber, Framber. Is it Framber? I don't know, but I do think that they're one of the heavy favorites to land him. I think that they sign one free agent starting pitcher and they trade for another. I would love to see another piece for the back end of this bullpen. I think you said, it was you that said that with arbitration, if you add in the arbitration contracts, their payroll sits at about 105 to 110 million right now. Yep. They were at 165 million last year, and they want to go beyond that, and they said they're willing to go into the red. They've got $85 to $100 million to spend this offseason.
The red, I think, is what's the first luxury tag?
I think it's like 190, isn't it?
I thought it was like 240.
I just can't imagine.
Let's see. No, what is it? Okay, thresholds. 2025. It moved down a little bit. Where is it? It is 263.
That's the red?
No, I'm sorry. Next year. First surcharge. Tax threshold is 244. The red is 264. So you're looking at a team that ideally, if they want to get to 244, can spend $130 million. You talk a big game. I'm just saying, you talk a big game. Go out there and spend it, Mike.
Do you think that the red was just a turn of phrase and not like an actual tier that they were willing to go to? Is it because Michael Elias has been known to misspeak?
I don't know how you misspeak that, but could you take it other ways? You could take it as we want to go into the red as we don't make revenue. If you do that, you're spending $200 million. If you go into the red, which you could take it as luxury tax, you can still spend $130 million. So you said it. Now, granted, you said liftoff before too. But listen, we're talking ideally to get back to last year is roughly $60 million. Mm-hmm. They could spend 130. If they landed in the middle there, 80, 90, I think this fan base is still ecstatic because you've acquired some quality players with $90 million.
Yeah. I firmly believe that they're adding another bat to the middle of the order, that they're going to trade for a starting pitcher. They're going to sign a starting pitcher. And I think that they still have one more piece to add to the bullpen. I'm anticipating not just a big winter meetings, but just a big rest of the offseason for this team. I can't tell you who they're going to trade for because I think everybody and their brother wants to trade for Joe Ryan. Maybe it's Joe Ryan. Maybe it's Mackenzie Gore. Maybe it's one of those guys from Miami. I think that they're going to be all in on Framber, and I think they're all in on Schwarber. And what Schwarber will do for that clubhouse, for the fan base, for that lineup.
Yep.
Like it makes too much sense from that standpoint. You figure out what you do with the rest of the guys and the logjam you're going to have in your lineup after the fact, but just get that guy in here. I don't think that Tucker. I don't see the Orioles going 10 years to 12 years, $400 million for Kyle Tucker. And I think that's what it's going to take to get it done. I think that Schwarber at maybe 5 years, 140 to 150 million is the deal that gets it done for him. Mm-hmm. So, anything else before we get out of here, Zach?
Just hold on to your butts.
Yeah, it's going to be a big next few days, and I think that 2 weeks ago we were saying if nothing happens at the winter meetings, that doesn't mean it won't happen. I think that at this point, if nothing happens, we have a right to be upset because they have a lot to do, and they need to be one of the teams that is talked about more than just interest the most for the rest of this coming week. So, all right, that's going to do it for us here on the Battleground. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners, viewers, and friends. Without you, we 100% do not have a show. Thank you to Zach Moore and Pigtown Sports for joining us every week on the show. Until next time, see ya!